1990X 年、世界は核の炎に包まれた。海は枯れ、地は裂け、あらゆる生命体が絶滅したかに見えた。だが、人類は死滅していなかった。
Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise is a crossover between Fist of the North Star and Sega's Yakuza series, a crossover in terms of gameplay mostly. You are thrown into the world of Fist of the North Star with the flair of everything Yakuza has to offer. As a fan of both series, the combination of the two is something I never knew that I had wanted. So, how did this crossover fare? Is it a standout title in the genre of anime video games, or is this game already dead? Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise takes place right at the end of the first arc of the series, as Kenshiro is finally getting ready to take on his rival, Shin, to rescue his beloved Yuria to finally live in peace. However, all of it is not as what it seems. Once Shin is defeated, you learn that Yuria has already been whisked away, and Kenshiro goes on a hunt again to find her. This brings him to the paradise town known as Eden. Once inside, Kenshiro must begin his quest to find Yuria behind these walls, along the way making new allies and learning the dark secrets behind the so-called paradise that is Eden. Right away, the writing in this game will honestly leave people a bit divided. If you are a huge fan of the anime and/or manga, don't expect this game to be a faithful adaptation of the source material. While the game is seen as a bit of a side canon, it takes a lot of creative liberties on a few key points in the series. Notable examples of this would be fights with many key characters throughout the series. All of this said, the writing is still extremely true to the source material to say the least. The game is broken up into about 12 chapters. Each chapter has a very similar structure to that of an episode from the anime. When someone is in trouble, Kenshiro answers the call, and in Omae wa mo shinderu later, the problem is solved and Kenshiro is one step closer to finding Yuria. While a lot of these chapters tend to be on the shorter side, I honestly really enjoyed the stories I was being told. I was actively invested in Kenshiro's struggles, and his desire to not only save Yuria, but protect the city of Eden that adopted him. While I really did enjoy the story of the game, there were a few things that rubbed me the wrong way. The biggest example of this would have to be the pacing. The first part of the game is paced really weird at times. You are introduced to a lot of characters that go from hating Kenshiro's guts to loving the man in the span of a few moments. We had a character who came across him as someone who would hate Kenshiro the entire time through, but after a battle or two he came around to being his new best friend. While I'm not against this per se, this happened before a plot point that would have had it make more sense for him to warm up to Kenshiro. The game also has a habit of throwing in a lot of titular characters of the series one right after another, with not much explanation as to why they are there. Honestly, it's really just fan service for fans of the show, so I can't harp on it too much, but the pacing of the first half of the story is really everywhere regardless. At its core, Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise is still a Yakuza game, and it really does show this off extremely well. For those coming in off Yakuza games, you'll find the core combat system be right at home for you. You have your standard attacks, and you can string them together to perform some gnarly combos. The biggest difference here would have to be how the game treats heat moves, or special techniques as the game calls it. Above every enemy's head is a skull, and as the skull fills up, you're able to strike your hidden pressure points to perform some powerful Hokuto Shinken moves. These moves are essentially heat moves with quicktime events to boot. The better you perform during these quicktime events, the more powerful it will be. You can also level up these special techniques as well to do even more damage. What I like a lot about these special techniques is that you can't readily spam them. You actually have to work your way up to be able to hit an enemy's pressure point. Since you can perform your special techniques whenever you stun an enemy, you must be wondering what the heat bar is for. So once you fill up the North Star, you're able to go into a burst mode. Your moveset will open up even more, as Kenshiro will now have the ability to deal more damage, and jump around and perform some really powerful moves. I honestly love burst mode and do my best to always get into it. The types of air combos that you can perform in this game is really satisfying. Even when not in bursts, you can still perform some really awesome juggles that will make you feel near unbeatable at times. The combat is just downright a power trip, and I can spend hours going around Eden and the Wasteland beating up thugs for fun. Speaking of the Wasteland, there is more to the world to explore outside of Eden. While Eden itself is a small city, probably no bigger than Yakuza 6's Onomichi, you have an entire wasteland to traverse. Kenshiro has a buggy that allows him to move around the wasteland with ease. This is normally where you'll do most of your grinding for level ups, as you can fight enemies in much larger hordes out here. While driving around the wasteland blaring Receive You North Star at the top of my speakers was fun at first, you soon begin to learn that the wasteland really does live up to its name. While there are settlements to visit, treasures to find, and thugs to practice baseball with, the Wasteland does not really have much to offer. While it was the focus of a few sub-stories, I often found myself never really enjoying my time driving around more than a few minutes at a time. All of that said, it can be a real power trip driving around the open wasteland and blaring music and beating up thugs. It's just not something I'd want to do consistently. Similar to its Yakuza roots, Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise has quite a bit of side content for you to indulge in. You have your standard casinos to gamble away your hard-earned money, and you even have the now series standard Cabaret Club to run. There are also arcades you can help restore, and Coliseum battles to partake in. However, this game also brings a lot of new side content for you to do. Kenshiro can spend his night as a bartender where you can shake your controller like it's a cocktail mixer, crafting ice balls, and many other crazy things. You can also put your magic hands to the test at the clinic by curing patients in a Rhythm minigame as well. You can also trick out your buggy and take part in some pretty fun races, so your buggy will have even more use while you're driving around the wasteland. Outside of that, you can also take part in the bounty system to help clean up the streets of Eden as well. To help with the world building, Eden also has about 80 sub-stories for you to complete, each one of them managing to stick to the charm of Fist of the North Star. While the story itself may be on the shorter side, the sheer amount of content this game has to offer can easily rank up there with Yakuza 0 or Kiwami 2. For those of you Yakuza fans coming into this game off the heels of Yakuza 6 or Kiwami 2, you're probably wondering why the game looks more like Yakuza 0 or Yakuza 5. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise does not make use of the Dragon Engine, as the development team for this game was made up of a lot of freshman developers at Ryoga Gotoku Studio. That said, the game gets a lot of mileage out of the older engine thanks to its cel-shaded look. The game's art style also does a great job of staying true to the Fist of the North Star style, and it honestly makes me feel like I'm really in the world. Exclusive to the worldwide release of the game, you're able to increase the carnage done on screen. This honestly makes the combat so much more satisfying and makes every combo you are performing feel rewarding. The game also returns to 60 frames per second, giving you the optimal performance to lay waste to baddies of the wasteland. Staying on track of the presentation, the last thing I wanted to talk about is the localization of the game. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise was not localized by the main Yakuza localization team, as they were busy working on Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Project Judge. Seeing another team get their hands on this series is pretty interesting, as I didn't know what to expect. The end results were a little rough around the edges, but the overall job was nicely done the further you go into the game. That said, for people asking me how they should play the game, well, here's what you should do when you first start it up. The English dub of this game is, well, pretty rough. While there are a few good performances, the majority of them fall rather flat. A lot of the voice actors weren't able to convey the same level of emotion as the characters that were being portrayed. An example would have to be Kenshiro. His line pacing is very jarring and can sometimes make scenes feel like you're dragging on. A sad consequence of the English dub is the game's script is affected by this. If you are playing with subtitles on with the Japanese dub, the script that is being provided is the one that is used in the English dub. There will be a few times where you'll get mismatched audio on what is being said by the characters on screen versus what is actually being typed. This is a real shame too because of how all of the characters are written for the English dub are a tad bit lackluster. Going through a lot of this dialogue felt more like a chore and didn't feel like it had the same level of quirkiness as that of a Yakuza game, which is a real juxtaposition when you see how the characters are acting versus what's being said on screen. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise is seriously a good game, and is honestly one of the best anime-based video games I have ever played. The game does an amazing job of putting you in the shoes of Kenshiro, and allows you to lay waste to hordes of baddies in an over-the-top and gruesome manner. The mix between this series and Yakuza honestly seemed like a match made in heaven, and at times it truly is. Sadly, the poor pacing of the story at the start and the rocky localization early on hold the game back from being something truly breathtaking. All of that said, if you're a fan of either Yakuza, Fist of the North Star, or both, you will find yourself getting lost in the wasteland, and I can fully recommend this game to you. Here's hoping Ryoga Gotoku Studio will continue to look into these crossover projects. And that does it for our review of Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise. To see the written review, be sure to check out our website, GamingGamma.com. A link to that review will be provided down in the description below. If you have any questions for me about the review or the game, by all means leave them down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Also, are you guys picking up this game? I honestly really recommend it, and I hope you guys give it a try. And if you're new to my channel, finding me out for the first time through this review, hey, be sure to subscribe for future reviews, commentaries, let's plays, and more. And as always everyone, thanks for watching.